Thank you for being part of the Oakwood Free Will Baptist Church Ministries. Our prayer is that those who listen to the Word of God will find a greater revelation of God's purpose in their lives. For additional resources, please visit us on the web at www.oakwoodfwb.com. Today, may you be encouraged, strengthened, and refreshed by our message.
She is here stateside until she can get some things taken care of with the surgery on her knees, and then she's also having to raise some support. And I'll let her share with you about that as well. But it is so good to have Shannon with us today. And Shannon, thank you for being a blessing to us as you come today and share with us what God will lay on your heart.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
It is such a pleasure to be with you guys today. But I need to ask your forgiveness in advance. I'm really nervous. And when I get really nervous, I talk really, really fast. So if I start running off at the mouth, somebody just wave their hands at me and I'll try to slow down. Can't promise anything, but I will try really, really hard. It was 16 years ago in August that I went to Japan for the first time. And it was a total shock to me. I was a nurse. I was working at Vanderbilt in the pediatric ICU and loved my life. Thought that I would grow old and die in Cheatham County. And God had totally different plans for me. And I went to Japan. And I really didn't know that much about Japan. The only thing I knew is that there were a lot of people. There were 126.8 million people in Japan. Now, I'm not really good with numbers, and that kind of doesn't mean a lot to me. But if you take the population of California, Texas, New York, Florida, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, they're some of the biggest, most populated states in America. And you put those people on a landmass the size of Montana. And that's what Japan is like. It's just people on top of people on top of people on top of people. Until January of 2012, I lived on the top island called Hokkaido. It's very cold there. They get about 30 feet of snow every winter. I grew up in Cheatham County where if you get this much snow, or if they even are calling for snow, everything closes down. You go to the grocery store, you get milk, bread, and eggs. It wasn't like that in Japan. Everything just kept going. And then in January of 2012, I moved down south to the Tokyo area, which is where the big white arrow is. And I lived there for the last 4 years. Moving there was a big, huge change. It's kind of the same thing as moving from Dover to New York City. So it was really, really big, and I was really, really nervous. But the climate there is much nicer. They have beautiful, beautiful seasons. Some of you guys who are affiliated with the military, it's close. I live like 30 or 45 minutes from Yokota, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Now the blue arrow, that marks where the March 11th earthquake happened, where thousands and thousands of people lost their lives. And even now, it's been 5 years, there's still people that are struggling there. But God's at work. I've heard recently that there is a village where 40 fishermen have become Christians. Amen. And that's a big deal. Fishermen that have that idea of being gruff and burly and they don't need any help. But as the aid workers flooded in and the media was there, the Japanese people started to notice that, hey, these Christians are still here. The media's gone. All of the paparazzi kind of people are gone, but these Christians have stayed, and that's made a huge difference. So pray for the missionaries that are working in that area. They are desperate for people to come and disciple those men. It's difficult, so just remember them. I know you guys have probably heard about the earthquake that happened a couple weeks ago. It's about 700 miles south of the white area. So not any of the missionaries that we have, the Free Will Baptists have in Japan, were affected by it. But I do have a friend who's a Free Will Baptist, and she's a Christian, and she lives in that area. And she posted on Facebook the other day that they have been kicked out of their house because the foundation is unstable. That her daughter, who's in 2nd grade, I think, has used up the last of her inhaler. And because they're in such a remote area, the tunnel and the bridge that gets to that area is completely destroyed, so nobody can get in to help them. So pray for my friend. I'm going to get the hardest part of my talk over with at the beginning, the part that makes me the most nervous. For 6 years, Free Will Baptist International Missions tried an undesignated support system. And what that means is that all the money went into one pot, and it was given out to the missionaries and to the national office as it was needed. And there were lots of reasons, but it really has not worked. International Mission started running in the red. They laid people off. People retired, and those people weren't replaced. We've cut budgets to the bare bones, and that means that a lot of evangelism ideas that we haven't been able to do just because there hasn't been the funding. So nothing improved. At the time when this program went into effect, the economy crashed, the world economy crashed, so our budgets basically doubled. When I first went to Japan, $1 got me 170 yen. When all this happened, $1 got me 71 yen. So immediately, the budgets just doubled. So in December 2015, the International Missions Board met and decided to go back to a designated system. And what that means is that all the missionaries have to raise 100% of their support. We have to prove that it's coming in monthly. And if your support drops below a certain level, you have to come back to the States to raise support. Now, some of you guys know Japan is really, really, really expensive. Right now, a gallon of gas is $4.24. A gallon of milk is $6.65. To get a medium pepperoni pizza delivered to your house from Pizza Hut, $20. So it's really expensive. So these are the numbers. I need to have $8,266.31 in consistent monthly support. And I need a cash balance of $15,419.57. As of March 2nd, I have an average monthly income of $3,084. I know of $1,000 that are coming in, but it hasn't hit my account yet, so I can't count it. So that was a deficit of $5,181. That hurts my feelings, because those are big numbers. So again, I break it down. I need 52 people or groups or churches to give $100 a month, or 104 people, groups, or churches to give $50 a month. And that seems a little bit more doable, but it's still kind of big and scary. You guys have prayed for me. I've met several people that have said, oh, we've seen your picture, we've been praying for you for a long time. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for that. That is huge. And I want to say, please don't stop. But we're going to give you a faith promise card and a prayer card. And if God's leading you to give, you don't have to give $50, you don't have to give $100, you can give $1. It will help immensely. So that's the hard part, and it's over. So let's get on to the fun stuff. What I'm going to do now is just tell you some stories of some of my friends and ask you to pray for them. One of the things that I have learned in Japan that I should have learned before I ever went to Japan is that God answers prayers. He answers little prayers, He answers big prayers, in all kinds of ways. Psalm 105 says this, Oh, give thanks unto the Lord. Call upon His name. Make known His deeds among the people. Sing unto Him. Sing songs unto Him. Talk ye of His wondrous works. Glory ye in His holy name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek the Lord. Seek the Lord in His strength. Seek His face evermore. Remember His marvelous works that He hath done, His wonders, and the judgments of His mouth. So this is what I want to focus on today. When I was in the States, the way international missions works, I'm in Japan for 4 years, and then I come back to the States for a year. And part of that is to raise support, and part of it is just to retool. Living in a different country is really tough, so it gives us time to come back and kind of normalize again. So when I was home the last time, I asked people to pray that God would send me friends. I knew that I was going to Tokyo. I didn't know anybody there except for one missionary family, and I loved them dearly, but I really wanted some friends. And that seems like a strange request and kind of selfish, but the truth is, when you talk to Japanese people, and actually when you talk to lots of people, they will say, I came to Christ because of this person. I was friends with this person, and they shared Christ with me. So I prayed God would send me prayers. You guys may have helped pray with that God would send me friends, and He did. He sent me little friends. I teach a Good News English class once a month on Monday, and He sent lots and lots of friends to that class. He sent me friends in private English lessons that I taught once a week. He sent me friends at the Good News Chapel. This is our little church in the Tokyo area. It's really small, and you can see some probably familiar faces. Donnie and Ruth McDonald work with this church, and I work alongside of them. He sent me some friends in the Senior Citizens English class that meets every month in a community center. And these people worked so tirelessly when another group of friends from America came to visit. My home church, New Hope, sent a group of 11 women, along with my mom, who's in the plaid on the end, to come to Japan. And it was like a shot of adrenaline to every friendship that I had. Japanese people really value your parents. They value age. And so when these women, some of them had very white hair, came, they were like, oh wow, this is really cool. So while my mom's group was there, during cherry blossom time, which is the most beautiful time in Japan, we had a picnic for every single person that I think I have ever met in the Tokyo area. And we had a blast. And again, these friendships, it just takes time, just spending time with people in different situations. I got some sad news about a month ago. Mrs. Kazama, she was one of the ladies that helped so much with my mom's group. She invited us into her home, which is a big deal for Japanese people. She taught us how to make sushi. The necklace that she has on, she taught us how to make a necklace. She and her husband had spent the morning with their grandchildren, and Mr. Kazama had gone to play tennis. And when he came back, Mrs. Kazama had a massive aneurysm and had died. She's a pillar of our church. And like you saw before, our church is very small. So that church is reeling from that. The Kazamas have 2 daughters and a son, and those kids grew up in church, but they have not prayed to believe. They're not Christians. So pray for this family. Donnie McDonald was able to preach the funeral, and the funeral director said this is the first time that he's ever seen a funeral that had hope. So God uses these things, these little tiny things, over and over again to draw people to himself. So just continue to pray for this family. So to say God's answering prayers is an understatement. So today I wanted to introduce you to 2 of my very best friends. They're totally different people, totally opposite personalities, but they came along in a very similar way. This is my friend Yuko. She and I met the first time when I was planting flowers in my little garden. See this table right here? In my front yard, I have a piece of dirt that's about that big. And it just needed something. So I climbed out there one day. To get to it, you have to climb behind the mailbox and behind a fence. So it takes some doing. So I got out there and was planting flowers, and the road in front of my house is a shortcut to the train station. So people were walking by, and I was talking to them, and they're like, oh wow, this foreigner speaking Japanese, that's kind of cool. Well, Yuko walked by, and she has this big black Labrador dog, and I love dogs. So we started talking, and I climbed out and was petting the dog, and she said, do you teach English? And I said, yeah, I do. And she said, I really want to learn English. Can I study English with you? I said, absolutely. And she goes, I know your hands are dirty right now, but I'll come back by and ring your doorbell, and we'll study English together. That happens a lot, and I really didn't think that I would ever hear from her again. And I didn't. A year went by, and I'm going to be really transparent with you guys. I was having a bad day. I was grumpy, and I was cranky, and I needed to clean my house, and I didn't want to. So I was watching TV, and all of a sudden I thought, I'm just going to do this. It was March, and I went to the back part of my house and opened up the sliding glass, opened up the curtains, opened up the sliding glass door, was going to get some air moving through. So I walked to the front of my house and opened the curtains, and Yuko and her dog were standing at the end of the driveway like they were waiting for me. It's a little bit creepy when I think about it now. But I opened the window and said hi to her, and she said, hey, do you teach English? And I said, yeah, I do. And so I grabbed one of my business cards and went outside. Now I had on the grungiest clothes, had a shower, had a baseball cap on, and while I'm walking out the door, I'm thinking, this woman is not going to want to study English with me. I am just a mess. So I walked out and gave her the card, and she goes, well, I'll call you. And again, my face was like this big. I'm like, she's not going to call me. But she did. She called me a few days later, and come to find out, she lives just right around the corner from my house. And she and her husband own a fish shop. And so she's very busy during the day, but she has time at night. Her kids are grown and out of the house, and her husband has to get up at 4 in the morning, so he goes to bed like at 7 or 8. And so she said, well, can I come over to your house and study? Like, yeah, I'm single. I don't have anything going on at night. Come on over. So the first day, I had all of my books laid out on the table, and I was ready. I was going to be a good English teacher and assess her level of English. And so she came in and she sat down, and we talked for about 5 minutes, and finally she said, I just want to be your friend. I was like, wow, okay, I can do that. So we put away the English books, and we started talking. I'm an introvert, and I'm really, really quiet. Well, Yuko decided that she wanted to come over to my house twice a week for 2 hours at a time, from 8 to 10. So every time she would be coming over, and I was really happy to see her, but there was always this doubt in my mind, what am I going to talk to her about? So I always start from a tea, and so I would be fixing the tea, and I would just pray, Lord, give me something to talk about. And he did, every single time. It was like we were long-lost sisters, and we would just talk about everything, and both of us would be like, where did the 2 hours go? So after several months, we were talking, and I said, you know what, Yiko? You are an answer to my prayers. And she looked at me and she said, you're an answer to my prayers too. Now, Yiko is a typical Japanese person. She practices Buddhism and Shintoism together. Buddhism is the idea that you're going to have an afterlife, that you need to do good things so that you'll have a good afterlife. Shintoism is the idea that everything has a spirit, that your dead ancestors have a spirit. The river that runs behind your house, the big tree in your yard, everything has a spirit. So what people do, they'll write their prayers on a little piece of paper and hang them up outside, and that carries the prayers up to the gods. Then they'll also go to a temple or a shrine, and they put money in a box, and so that noise, it's coin money, and so it wakes up the gods. And then they clap their hands twice, and that really makes sure the gods are awake, and then she prays. She also has a God shelf in her house that has a picture of her husband's, I think, father and mother. And so occasionally she will go and offer offerings of rice and fruit and drinks to her dead ancestors, and she'll pray to them. So when she says that she's praying for me, that's what she's doing. So it was just very, very strange. I didn't really know what to say to that because I didn't really crush her. But I'm just praying for her, and I'm going to ask you to pray that one day that she'll know that there is a God that has ears, that can help, that can answer her prayers in ways that she's never ever experienced. So one day I was asking her, so why do you want to have a foreign friend? She was telling me that her family was really giving her a hard time, saying, you have this foreign friend and you guys do stuff together. What's up with that? And I said, yeah, what is up with that? Why do you want to have a foreign friend? And she said, well, when I was in high school, this missionary lady gave me a brownie. Now, I don't know if the missionary lady was doing some kind of evangelical outreach thing of giving away brownies, if she had made too many, I don't know. But that made such an impact on this lady that 30 years later, she is seeking out foreigners to talk to spend time with. Now, I don't think it was the brownie at all that was making the difference. I think the Holy Spirit is working in Yuko's life and is bringing her to himself. So I want you to pray for Yuko and her family. I've been adopted into their family in a big way. She was able to meet my mom, and she calls my mom her American mama. And it was just really, really sweet to see them. Her youngest daughter had a baby in January. Baby Senna is a sweet little boy, and I've talked to him on Skype several times. I talk to Yuko about once a week on Skype. And so I've been talking to baby Senna, and she's convinced that he already speaks English. And the Aunt Shannon is going to teach him how to speak perfect English when I get back. So pray for Yuko and her family. They're just sweet, sweet, sweet people that I love dearly, but they need Jesus in a big way. Now, my second friend, totally different person. You guys are kind of quiet and very even-keeled. Hideo is like the most un-Japanese person that you've ever met. Japanese people don't touch, they don't hug, they bow, and you keep personal distance. Hideo is a hugger, and she'll just hug all the time. I met Hideo at the community center. Japanese is really, really hard. It's one of the hardest languages for an English speaker to learn. So even though I went to school for 2 years and studied Japanese every day, I'm still not fluent. Reading-wise, I'm probably on an elementary school level. Conversation-wise, I do okay, but it's really, really hard. So this community center has $1 Japanese classes. So I go. And one day, one of my classmates said, hey, you need to meet Hideo. She's really sweet. So I walked over and talked to her, and she said, hey, do you teach English? Now, I'm not a formally trained English teacher. That's not why I went to Japan. But a lot of times with mission work, you try to reach the needs of the people. So if you're in Haiti, you might be building an orphanage or digging a well or doing something like that. Japan is very modern, and they don't really have any kind of needs that we can meet. But they all want to study English from native English speakers. So that's a lot of what we do. Usually we have English classes at the church. We ask them to come, and then we have 30 to 45 minutes of English, and then 15 to 20 minutes of Bible at the end, and we pray together. So I told Theo, yeah, we can have English class at the church. She's kind of looked at me and she's like, oh, the church. I've never been to a church. Now, our church doesn't look like this at all. It is the third story of like a little storefront building, and you have to ride the elevator to get up to it. So the first day, same drill, had all my books laid out, was ready to go. I heard the elevator make its creaky noise and the door open, and he just kind of peeked out like, what is this? And she goes, oh, it's just a normal room. I'm like, yeah, come on in. So she came in and we started talking, and after we actually studied English, like with textbooks and everything, for several months. And then one day she said, let's just be friends. And so we did. We went to IKEA together. We went to restaurants together. We just basically spent time together. Japanese and Americans are very, very different. Americans like to talk about their feelings. You know, what are you feeling? What am I feeling? This is what's going on. Japanese people will only let you know what they want you to know. They wear a mask the rest of the time. So you never quite know what's going on in their hearts. They won't ask you to do a favor. It's just very, very different. So after a couple of weeks of studying, I mentioned that I was going back to America in July. And she said, America ni ikitai na, which means, man, I really like to go to America. Now, I'm a typical Southern girl. So when somebody says something like that, what do you think you say? Oh yeah, sure, come on. Never really thinking that they're gonna come. Well, Hideo is very different. And so after several weeks, she was like, can you come over and help me buy a ticket? I don't know how to use the internet to do that. So I went over and we started looking at tickets, and we found a ticket. And I said, well, what do you want to do in America? And she said, I want to do something that Japanese people normally don't do. Well, she's a Disney fanatic. And I said, well, what if we go on a Disney cruise? So we started looking at tickets. The prices dropped really drastically after Thanksgiving. So Hideo came to America for Thanksgiving. She came the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I showed her the best and worst of what America has to offer. We did Thanksgiving dinner together. We went Black Friday shopping together. And the icing on the cake was, for me, was bringing her to my church. She had met several of the ladies from our church when they came to Japan, and so she was very open to coming to the church, even though it was very, very different from her idea of church. So we were sitting there, and I hadn't spoken like Christian Japanese since July. This is November, and so I was really worried, and so I kept praying, Lord, just give me the words. Pastor Corey preached a very, very clear gospel message, and I was able to translate everything to her. So the ladies that had come to Japan wanted to take her to lunch at a Mexican restaurant. So we went to the restaurant. It's what you do. So we went to the Mexican restaurant, and Hideo kept saying, why do these ladies want to be my friend? I can't believe they even remember me. And I said, Hideo, they love you. They were so excited to get to see you again. They really didn't think that they would be able to. And so they just wanted, show you that. So we get in the car, and I hadn't really thought about what Sunday after Thanksgiving traffic was going to be like. And so it took forever to get from Nashville to Atlanta. But you know what Hideo wanted to talk about the entire time? What is this God? Now, what do you have to do at church? What are the rules? Now, what's it like? What do you have to do? So the whole time, that's what we talked about. That's all she wanted to talk about. We went on the Disney cruise. We went to Disneyland. We had a great time. And saying goodbye to her at the airport in Florida was really, really tough. The plan was, she has a daughter and a granddaughter. This is her granddaughter, Yuda. They lived with her since Yuda was born. And they also had a dog, Lucy. And the plan was, when Hideo got back to Japan, that the daughter would meet her at the airport. So dropped her off at the airport in Florida, was driving up, stopped in Georgia to see a friend, and I get this frantic text from her, and she said, my daughter's not here. I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? So a few minutes later, I get this other text, and it said, I just got this email from my daughter. And the email said, I'm leaving, I'm moving out. Your life is your life, my life is my life. I'm changing my phone number, I'm changing my email address, do not look for me. She took the daughter, the granddaughter, the dog, everything that the daughter had, she took and had moved out during those 2 weeks that Hideo was in America. So Hideo, we finally got to a place where I could get phone service enough to call, and she called me just weeping. And all I could say to her was, I'm praying for you. And part of my mind was like, I just want to crawl through the phone and help you, but there's nothing I can do. That's the best thing that I could do for her, was just to pray for her. So she's doing very well. Still, she has not had any contact with her daughter or her granddaughter, and she still continues to say she wants her life to be her life, my life to be my life. And that's what she's doing. But God is working in Hevio's life. So she has this extra time where she's not caring for her granddaughter. She has been looking for ways to help the missionaries. So she is teaching Daniel Spear, who is a new missionary there. She's teaching him Japanese. Ruby Crow, one of the missionary kids, is having trouble with her Japanese writing. So she's helping Ruby Crow. In the meantime, she's spending time with all of these Christians. So I talked to her about 2 weeks ago. And she said, Katie's starting this gospel choir thing. And I think I'm going to join it. I was like, that's great. She's like, yeah, I have this stress, and I think that would just help. So I talked to her last week, and I said, how was the gospel choir? She's like, oh, it was great. I absolutely love it. And we're going to have this big concert, and we're learning all these songs. So as she learns about the songs, as she learns about what they mean, pray that those words will take hold in her heart. Japanese people have a really hard time understanding God's unconditional love. I have a hard time understanding that. The Japanese people don't really have a word for love. When they talk about, I love my kids, the Japanese word for love is I. So they don't say I you, they say daisuki, I like you a lot. So to have an idea that God loves them so much that he would send his son to die for their sins, and that Jesus didn't stay dead, he rose from the dead, now he's sitting next to God, interceding for our sins, that just doesn't make any sense to them. It's not something that we can just preach to them, we can't hand them a tract. It's something you have to live life with them and let them see it in all kinds of different situations and all kinds of different, just different ways that God loves them. The words of Isaiah 55:8-11 give me a lot of comfort. It says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways or your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain cometh down, and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth in bud, that it may give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater. So shall my word be that goeth out from my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So I'm praying that as these two ladies hear God's word, that will take root in their heart. Now, lastly, and this is totally selfish, I'm going to ask you to pray for the missionary team that's working in Japan right now. They are like family to me. It's really strange. When I'm in Japan, I really think, oh man, I want to go back to America and see my family. When I'm in America, I think, oh man, I'm going to go back and see my family. God's working in really great ways in Japan right now, and Satan is attacking. It's very, very difficult to live in Japan. They think differently than we do. They talk differently than we do. There's 3 different levels of politeness. And if you use the wrong one, you can totally ruin a friendship. You can offend people very, very easily. So pray for these people. There's also another couple, Katie and Daniel Spear, that aren't in this picture. And then Ken and Judy Bailey are also on furlough right now, and they aren't in the picture either. Lastly, these are the little kids that call me Aunt Shannon in the mission group. As you can notice, they don't look anything like the kids that you saw at the first part of the picture show. They look different, they think different, they talk different. They go to Japanese schools 8 hours a day where they don't hear their heart language at all. And it is very, very, very hard. And to be honest, they didn't choose this life. Their parents chose it. And so they're there, they love Jesus, but it's very, very difficult. So pray for these sweet little kids that they'll be able to be salt and light, that they would understand Japanese quickly, and they would make lots and lots of friends. I've talked really, really fast, I think. So if you have any questions or anything that you want to know, oh, one more thing. I always forget this part. When you get this card, there's a place, I'd like to receive Shannon's newsletter by email. I send out a newsletter email about every 2 months. If you'd like to get that, you can also friend me on Facebook. I always put a link to that too. If you don't have email, just don't fill that out. Just put your address up here. The snail mail newsletter comes out about 2 or 3 times a year, so it's a little bit harder to get out and a little bit more expensive. But if you have any questions, if there's anything that I can answer, I'll be around. So thank you very much.